Okay, so let's dig into this really fascinating blog series you sent over, Greenstarox's Album Quest, the search for the best album of all time.
Yeah, it's quite something.
It's this unique concept, kind of like a World Cup, but for albums. Really interesting.
Absolutely. And what's really gripping, I think, is how the author, Greenstarox, makes it incredibly personal, yet really structured.
Structured how?
Well, they take 4 albums, randomly grouped, listen to them back to back, multiple times.
Okay.
Then they rank them first to fourth. Top 2 go through to the next round. So it's this bracket-style tournament, yeah.
Right, like a knockout competition.
Exactly. But driven entirely by the author's personal taste. They even quote that Latin phrase, de gustibus non est disputandum.
There's no disputing taste.
Precisely. It's the whole foundation of the quest.
And what really jumped out at me is how upfront they are about, not owning every single quote-unquote classic album.
Yeah.
And maybe more surprisingly, not always rating the ones they do have highly, even the famous ones.
Mm-hmm. It's quite bold. It feels like a statement, doesn't it? Almost pushing back against the established canon.
So what does that tell us about the whole point of this album quest?
I think it really speaks to authenticity. We're surrounded by algorithms, critic lists.
Best of lists everywhere.
Exactly. And this approach, forcing yourself to listen comparatively, trying to strip away the hype or nostalgia, it creates this really personal hierarchy, one that's rigorously defended. Even if it's just their opinion, it's less about finding the universal best album and more about defining what best means to them.
Right, and it kind of makes you think about your own filters for music.
It absolutely does. It invites you to question why you rate certain things highly.
So to really get a feel for this, we looked closely at one specific post, episode 7, Frankie Goes to Liverpool.
Ah, yeah, that one.
And the group for that round was Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Liverpool, Michael Jackson's Dangerous,
Belinda Carlisle's A Woman and a Man, and Ultravox's Lament. Quite a mix there.
Definitely a varied lineup thrown into the ring.
Yeah, and the results from this episode really show the whole project in action.
So who came out on top?
Well, Greenstarox picked Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Liverpool as the winner of this group. They talked about its dance-fueled pop anthems like Rage Hard and Warriors of the Wasteland.
Okay, so strong tracks.
Yeah, those really connected. And interestingly, the author called it a weaker group overall, but Liverpool still won, suggesting it had real standout quality for them.
And who else made it through?
Michael Jackson's Dangerous. But the blog says it gets through
Just scraping by.
Yeah.
Even Dangerous.
Apparently so, in this context. It was mainly carried by Black or White and Given to Me, according to the author.
Wow, so even a massive global hit isn't guaranteed an easy pass. It has to stand up to this personal back-to-back scrutiny.
That's the core idea.
So what happened to the other two, Ultravox and Belinda Carlisle?
Well, this is where that pure personal taste comes in again. Ultravox's Lament was apparently judged just a bit too boring.
Ouch. Boring.
Yeah. Just didn't grab the author in those listens, it seems. And Belinda Carlisle's A Woman and a Man, simply described as a bit average.
Average. Not terrible, but not standing out in that group.
Exactly. And these aren't like deep critical analyses in the traditional sense. They're declarations based on that specific listening experience. How did it stack up right then, right there?
It really forces you to think, okay, what does boring or average mean to me when I listen to an album? So bringing this all together, what's the bigger message for us, as listeners? It feels like a real stand for personal taste against the critics.
It absolutely is. Greenstarox isn't just saying, I like this. They're showing their work, albeit through a subjective lens.
Right.
They back it up with reasons, track examples.
Right, within their own system.
Yes, and connecting that outwards, it poses a pretty important question, I think. In this age of endless best of lists, expert consensus streaming recommendations, what's the real value of a project like this intense, subjective, but really dedicated search?
What is the value then?
Well, it challenges you, the listener, doesn't it? To maybe ignore the noise sometimes, to listen freshly, and to actually figure out and articulate why you connect with certain music, what makes it great for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This whole Album Quest deep dive, it really highlights how some of the most interesting thinking can come from someone just bravely saying, look, I know what I like, and here's why, and then proving it.